Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, beings and beasts from this and other universes, and you are watching WoWFilms, where we are continuing with the class speculation from part 1. Now, I'm afraid you will hear clicks such as those in the background, because I am actually on the forums right now looking at the class changes. So, we did the Shaman, we did the Warlock, we did the Priest, and we did the Warrior. We are now on to the Death Knight. Now, I'm going to go over the spells, the mechanic changes, and then later on, maybe in a different episode, I am going to go over the different, some different details. So, Death Knight abilities. Outbreak at level 81. Outbreak infects the target with both Frost Fever and Blood Fever at no rune cost. This ability allows the Death Knight to apply diseases quickly when they are switching targets or when the diseases have been dispelled. There you go. That's it. Necrotic Strike. Necrotic Strike is a new attack that deals weapon damage and applies a debuff that absorbs an amount of healing based on the damage done. For context, imagine that the Death Knight can choose between doing 8,000 damage outright with a certain ability or dealing 6,000 damage and absorbing 4,000 points in incoming heals with a Necrotic Strike. So this is mainly a PvP heal, and that's what I've heard some people complaining about, that all of the Death Knight abilities are mainly for tanks. So here's the next one. Dark Simulacrum. At level 85, the Death Knight strikes a target, applying a debuff that allows the Death Knight to copy the opponent's next spell cast and unleash it. Unlike Spell Reflection, the Dark Simulacrum does not cancel the incoming spell. In general, if you can't reflect an ability, you won't be able to copy it either. So basically, either you use it in PvP or for tanks. It's that simple, because maybe an AoE spell or something like Patchwork's Hateful Strike, something that you may just be able to cast. You might be able to cast on them anyway. Anyway, rune system changes. While we're satisfied with the way the rune system works overall, this is from the forums in the blue post, we're making a few major changes to the mechanics that will ultimately help Death Knight players feel less constrained. Okay, in the current rune system, anytime a rune is sitting idle, Death Knights are losing out on potential damage output. I just want to put in here that every time a bit of mana is lying idle, DPS casters are losing out on potential damage output too. By comparison, rogues spend most of their time at low energy levels, and if they're unable to use their skills for a few seconds, that energy builds up and could be spent later, minimising the net loss from the interruption. Okay, I kind of agree with that. Death Knight's runes, on the other hand, cannot be used until they're fully active. So if they go for a couple of seconds without using a spendable rune, then it's wasted. So basically, it's a bit like sitting at 100% rage as a warrior. So the new rune system will change how runes regenerate, from filling up simultaneously to filling sequentially. For example, if you use 2 blood runes, then the first rune will fill up before the second one starts to fill up. So essentially you have 3 sets of runes filling every 10 seconds, instead of 6 individual runes filling up every 10 seconds. Okay, I don't quite get the thinking behind that, but okay. Talent changes I'll do later. So that's the Death Knight. We now move on to the Rogue. I just want to say now that the Death Knight's Blood and Frost, i.e. tanking and DPS, have been switched, but I'll talk about that later. So, new rogue spells at level 81. They've got Redirect. Rogues will be getting a new ability to help them deal with changing targets. Redirect will transfer any active combo points to the rogue's current target, helping to ensure combo points aren't wasted when swapping targets or when targets die. In addition, this self-buff abilities like Slice and Dice, blah blah blah, basically they won't require a target. Redirect will have 1 minute cooldown, no other costs. So you can sort of do this with Subtlety. Sort of. I think you have a chance to. It's been a while since I've played on my rogue though. So basically it's for soloing, PvP. I couldn't imagine using it on a boss fight other than with ads. At level 83, they get Combat Readiness. Combat Readiness is a new ability that we intend rogues to trigger defensively. While this ability is active, whenever the rogue is struck by a melee or ranged attack, he or she will gain a stacking buff called Combat Insight that results in 10% reduction in damage taken. Stack up to 5 times. Time will be refreshed whenever a new stack is applied. 6 seconds, 2-minute cooldown. Basically, I've heard lots of talk about this, and Blizzard pretty much trying to make rogues a bit more durable. Fair enough. Rogues have no way of healing themselves. Yeah. End of. So at level 85, they get Smoke Bomb. A rogue drops a smoke bomb, creating a cloud that interferes with enemy targeting. Enemies who are outside the cloud will find themselves unable to target units inside the cloud with single target abilities. Enemies can move inside the cloud to attack, or they can use area of effect abilities at any time to attack opponents in a cloud. So this is, all melee DPSers and casters stand in the cloud. Basically, everyone jump in the cloud, and the enemies will, just stand in the field, and then enemies will have a problem targeting you. In PvP, so this is changes to abilities and mechanics. PvP, we want to reduce the rogue's dependency on binary cooldowns and stun locks. Give them more passive survivability in turn. So you know what that means, didn't you? It means no more getting stun locked from behind. It means you actually have a chance to kill a rogue before you die yourself. You're just riding on your mount through the field of strife, and then you you sort of get stun locked, and then you die within a couple of seconds, which means rogues aren't as OP anymore. In PvP, even accounting for active modifiers like Slice of Dice and Venom, a very large proportion of the rogue's damage is attributed to passive sources of damage, okay? Yes, they're using abilities, more of their damage will be coming from active abilities and special attacks. We like to improve the rogue levelling experience, okay? To complement the change to combo points, non-damage abilities such as Recuperate and Slice of Dice will no longer have target requirements, okay? So it's a bit like a self-buff. Ambush will now work with all weapons, but will have a reduced coefficient when not using a dagger. When operating from stealth, all rogues will be able to choose from burst damage, dots, or a stun. As we've done recently with some of the subtlety abilities, we want to make sure more rogue abilities aren't overly penalised by weapon choice. With a few exceptions like backstab, you should be able to use a dagger, axe, mace, or sword, or fist weapon without being penalised for most attacks. Deadly Throw and Fan of Knives will now use the weapon in the range slot. In addition, we hope to allow rogues to apply poisons to their throwing abilities. To their throwing weapon, sorry. This is kind of interesting. It will now use the weapon in the range slot. What if you've got a gun? Will you, chuck your gun at your enemy? Okay. We are very happy with Tricks of the Trade as general mechanic. Okay. Again, I'll come back to the talent changes, etc. later. Now for the Hunter, or Huntard. Okay, 8 minutes into the video, right. I'm afraid these videos can't go on forever, unfortunately. So, Hunter new abilities. At level 81, they get Cobra Shot, a new shot that deals nature damage instead of physical damage. This ability will share a cooldown with Steady Shot. So it'll give a Hunter an alternative to Steady Shot on heavily armoured targets, so you're not always relying on physical damage. Trap Launcher. Launch a shot when used, the next trap can be shot to a location within 40 yards. 1 minute cooldown, no global cooldown. This provides the current freezing arrow treatment to all traps, and as a result we will be removing the current ability freezing arrow. Okay. That's at level 83, and at level 85 they get Camouflage. Yay, at last! Camouflage for a Hunter. The Hunter enters an obscured state that prevents him or her from taking ranged damage. The character would still be subject to melee or area of effect attacks, and dealing or taking damage will break the camouflage effect. The Hunter can move and set traps when under camouflage, and will receive a damage bonus when attacking while under camouflage, which will then break the effect. Okay, so it's a little bit like stealth, but you're not so stealthy. It's probably a little bit like those spiders in Blade's Edge Mountains and stuff, and the guys in the rogues in the Death Knight starting place. You can still see them, but they're just hard to see. So they're not using mana anymore. and instead they're using focus. Basically, you get 100 focus. Shot costs about 60 focus. There are some figures here, but I'm not going to read them all out because we have got a limited amount of time. I'll just put the link in the description. In addition to the resources changes to abilities and mechanics. A major change coming for the hunter is removal of ammunition, so you just buy your ammo and then it works forever, which is kind of unrealistic, but it will be great. Pet management will also change. Hunters will now have 2 types of attainable pets, active and stored. I'm not going to read all of that either, but basically that's one of the main things that put me off hunters. Trying to stop myself from saying hunter here, but I am going to be making my Wargunner hunter to try and, just bring myself to grips with the warrior. Additionally, hunters will now start with a race-appropriate pet at level 1, and be able to tame a different pet at level 10. Okay, stings and other periodic effects will now benefit from haste and critical strike ratings. Viper Sting will now restore 9 focus every 3 seconds. While we are reinforcing Hunter's range class to this end, the class will now start with ranged abilities at level 1. We'll be removing some melee abilities such as Mongoose Bite. Okay, again I'll come back to the Hunter later. We now go on to Druid. So let's just check how much time we've got left. Okay, a couple of minutes. Oh no, it hasn't frozen. Okay, new abilities at level 81. They'll get Thrash. This is a melee, tanking cat form damage thing. Thrash deals damage and causes all targets within 10 yards to bleed every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. The intent here is to give bears another button to hit while tanking. Okay, cool. 10 yards. I mean, when was the last time you saw a cat with an arm that was 10 yards long? Just a quick question there. But when was the last time you saw a cat with arms that were 10 yards long? Or a bear? If you've ever seen a bear or a cat with arms 10 yards long, then please post it in the description. Because, I quite like to see that. Stampeding Roar at level 83. Druid Roars, increasing the movement of all allies within 10 yards by 40% for 8 seconds. Again, this is mobility on the boss fights. Stampeding Roar can be used in cat or bear form, but bears might have a talent to drop the cooldown. Okay. Wild Mushroom at level 85 grows a magical mushroom. Cool, magical mushroom. Like a wizard. Druids are now wizards. Cool. At the target location, after 4 seconds, the mushroom becomes invisible. Wow. Invisible magic mushroom. That's very clever. They're like tinkerers now. Enemies who cross the mushroom detonate it, so it's like a claymore invisible magical mushroom. Wow. That's cool. I want to be a druid now. Okay. Abilities and mechanics. All heal over time spells will benefit from crit and haste. Okay. Unlike other healers, restoration druids will not be receiving any new spells. Oh no, poor druids. Oh well, they're OP enough anyway. They have plenty to work with already. Great. We want to add tools to cat form and depth to bear form. Okay, you do that then. Bark skin will be innately undispellable. We will be buffing the damage of mangle. Okay, cool. Druids will lose abolish poison. The mechanics are changing. I'm sorry I wasn't very in depth with the druid stuff, but the highest I've played a druid to is level 10-ish, I think. And, that's it. So I will be coming back to it. This is all we've got time for, really, guys. So I will be coming back and making a third part, in which I'll discuss quite a lot of other things. So until then, bye.